So in this video lesson, we're going to have a look at some of these terms in ecology. So we want to be filling in our note along with this video. So we're going to start off with the two terms biotic and abiotic, which hopefully you've heard of before. So biotic means things that are living. And so an example of some things that would be biotic would be a polar bear, or grass, or a flower, or you. So anything that's living is considered to be biotic. Abiotic are non-living. Oh, let's flip our color here. So abiotic are things that are non-living. And so some examples of things that would be abiotic would be like a rock, water, the wind, so like air, okay? Anything that would be considered not living. All right, so those are abiotic factors when we're looking in ecology. All right, so then ecology is the study of living organisms and their environment. So ecology is the study of living organisms and their relationship to their environment. All right, so ecology is the study of the relationships between living things and their environment. So some examples here we've got in the pictures. So an example could be a bear and salmon fish. Okay, so ecology could be the study of the relationship between a bear and salmon, could be the study of the relationship between people and global warming. There's lots of examples here in terms of what constitutes ecology. Now, an individual, when we're talking in an ecological sense, is a single member of a species. Okay, so an example here would be a horse. So we've got some pictures here, a dog, a bee, okay? But an individual is just one single member of that species. Now, a species, so a species is a group of living things that are similar enough to produce offspring. Okay, so an example would be horses. There's male horses, female horses, and they are similar enough that they can produce baby horses. Okay, so our example here, we'll use horses. Okay, but people would also work in terms of a species. All right, now a population. So a population is the number of species living in an area. Would help if I spelled living right. So living in an area. Okay, so for example, if we're using our example of horses, a population could be 4 horses. Nope, can't spell today apparently. There we go, 4 horses. Okay, or we could be talking about the population of Toronto or the population of Woodstock. Okay, and so population is just the number of species that are living in an area, and it is always a number. Okay, so that for population. All right, now a colony. So a colony is a group, again, of living things of the same type living together. Okay, so an example of this could be a family, or if we're using our horses, a herd of horses. There we go. Or a family works as well. Okay, habitat is actually all of the things that interact in the environment that a species or a colony lives in. So this is abiotic and biotic factors that interact with living things in their environment. Okay, so for example, a habitat could be a log, or a habitat could be an ocean, or the habitat could be the Arctic. The ocean or the Arctic. Okay, and it's really a place where species live, and all the biotic and abiotic factors that interact with that species where they live. Okay, and then a community is a group of living things. So again, this is a group of living things, all living in the same area. But these do not have to be the same species. So an example could be on the farm. So there's horses, cows, grass, people, all of those things, and that's a community. So where there's horses, grass, people, cows, etc. And they're all living in the same area. Okay. A benefit is exactly what it sounds like. So it's something good for a living thing. Okay, so an example of a benefit for a species could be something like rain. So having rainfall, because it allows the food to grow. But you would say that a benefit would be having just enough rainfall, because rainfall could also be a challenge, which is a difficult problem. So a challenge is a difficult problem for a species. So an example here could be a drought, i.e. having not enough rainfall. So while rainfall could be a benefit, which is something good for living things because it allows the food to grow, gives the animals water to drink, it could also be a challenge if it's not happening quickly enough. And so a drought where we're getting no rainfall could be a significant challenge for a species in an area where they live. Okay, now resources. So resources are going to be things that are available for use. And so some examples here would be the food that's available for our species, water, shelter. Okay, things that are available for our animals or organisms or living things to use. Coexistence is when we exist or live together. And this is usually coexistence of two separate species. So an example would be people and their pets. Okay, so just like Charlie lives at my house, we coexist together, living in the same space. All right. Now, biodiversity is having a wide variety of living things. Best example of a place that has a huge amount of biodiversity is like a coral reef. So that's what this picture here is showing. A coral reef and has hundreds of thousands of different species of living things, right? So there's tons of different types of fish and plants and all kinds of different things that all live in that same area. The rainforest would be another great example of a place that has a huge amount of biodiversity. And biodiversity is actually extremely healthy for ecosystems, because the more types of species that are living in an ecosystem, the healthier the ecosystem actually is. When we have ecosystems that only have one or two types of living things that live there, those ecosystems tend to collapse and they're not as healthy as very diverse ecosystems. So biodiversity is something that we want. It's something we want to encourage. And then an ecosystem is a system of interactions. My pen is not quite as quick as I am. So the system of interactions between living things and their environment. So an example of an ecosystem could be a pond, could be a forest, could be the ocean. Okay, it actually generally is a very large area that has lots of different living things and non-living things and things that are all interacting with each other. Okay. All right. So that's the end of this video lesson. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to click on the ecology terms matching form and try and see